cold wind pushed through the open barn walls as Rina stacked the last bundle of wood. She pulled her cloak tighter, though the thin cloth did little against the night air. The moon hung low and pale above the fields, lighting the rough shapes of the old fence and the dying crops beyond it. Her stepbrothers were late. They were always late. Rina sat on the edge of the wooden crate and rubbed her hands together for warmth. Her palms were still sore from the work she'd done that morning, and her legs ached from carrying heavy buckets across the yard all afternoon. But she didn't complain. Complaining only made things worse. The barn door creaked open. Rina jumped. Her stepbrother Idrin stepped in first. He was tall, broad, and carried the same sour expression he always wore when he looked at her. Behind him came Jorek, shorter, sharper, his face curled into a cold smirk. Rina stood quickly. "You're back." "Of course we're back," Edrin growled. "We told you to wait, didn't we?" Rina nodded. Her heart beat a little faster. She didn't know why, only that something in the air felt heavier than before. Jorek shut the barn door behind him. The latch clicked. "You finish the wood?" he asked. "Yes," Rina answered. "You feed the animals?" "Yes." "You sweep?" "Yes." Jorek smiled, but it wasn't warm. It was the smile he used when he wanted her to feel small. "Good," he said. "You've been useful today." Rina swallowed. He only said that when he wanted something. What did you two do in the village today?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Edrin stepped closer, and Rina caught a new smell on him. Something sharp, something burnt, something like old smoke. He grinned. "We made a deal." Rina frowned. "A deal for what?" Jorek answered this time. "For you." Rina's breath caught in her chest. "For me?" Jorek nodded. "That's right. We found someone willing to take you off our hands." Rina stepped back until the crate hit her legs. "You sold me?" Edrin laughed. "Sold? Don't be silly. We traded you." Rina shook her head. No, you can't. Mother would never." Jorek stepped forward and slapped her across the face. Rina gasped and held her cheek. Jorek leaned in close. "Your mother is dead, and father is gone. We're the only ones left to decide what happens in this house." Her legs trembled. Who did you trade me to?" Jorek smiled wider. Edrin turned toward the door, and then Rina heard it. The slow creak of wheels on dirt. A lantern's glow slid across the barn wall as something halted outside. Rina's chest tightened. "No, please, no." The barn doors swung open. Wind rushed in first. Then the circus caravan appeared. The lantern outside flickered in the wind, casting long shadows along the barn floor. Rina stared as a tall figure stepped into the barn. His coat was long and dark, made of thick cloth and trimmed with pale silver thread. A mask covered the top half of his face, smooth and white, with thin black lines curling around the eyes. His voice was calm. "Is this her?" Edrin nodded. "Rina, 17, strong for her size, works quiet." Rina flinched at the way he spoke about her, like she wasn't standing right there, like she was an object. The masked man turned his head toward her. He didn't blink. He stepped closer, and lantern light fell across his face. The mask was smooth except for the narrow slits around the eyes. Behind those slits was darkness. She couldn't see the color of his eyes. She couldn't even tell if he had any. "Come forward," he said. Rina didn't move. Jorek shoved her. She stumbled forward, nearly falling at the masked man's feet. He looked down at her with no expression. "How long has she been with you?" he asked. 12 years, Idrin said. Since her mother married our father. The masked man tilted his head slightly. She is not blood to either of you. No, Jorek said. Makes no difference. She eats. We feed her. She works. That's the deal. Rina felt tears sting her eyes. She didn't want to cry in front of them. The masked man studied her in silence. His voice softened, not kindly, but as if he were thinking. She is small, he murmured, but not weak. Rina clenched her fists. Please, please don't take me. Edrin put a heavy hand on her shoulder. You're going, he said. We already got paid. Rina looked at him in shock. Paid? With what? Jorek held up a small pouch. It jingled. Coin, he said. Enough to feed us all winter. Rina stepped away from him, but the masked man caught her wrist. His fingers were cold, deep cold, bone cold. She froze. You belong to the caravan now, he said quietly. Your stepbrothers have given you over. Rina stared at him, her chest rising and falling fast. Who are you? She whispered. The masked man lowered his head slightly, almost like a bow. I am the Ringmaster. Rina's breath caught. No, she whispered. No, please, I don't want to. Take her, the Ringmaster said. Two figures stepped in from outside, cloaked, silent, their faces hidden behind masks shaped like animals, one a wolf, the other a bird. They grabbed Rina's arms. She fought, twisting, kicking, trying to break free. Rina, Jorek said lazily, crossing his arms, don't make a scene. You can't do this, she cried. I didn't do anything. The wolf-masked figure tightened its grip. Rina screamed. No one listened. The Ringmaster lifted one hand. Quiet. The word echoed, not loud, but heavy, like something more than sound. The walls themselves seemed to absorb it. Rina felt her voice fall silent in her throat. She was dragged out of the barn and shoved into the cold night. The traveling circus waited for her. The caravan stretched across the field like a line of strange beasts. Dozens of wagons stood in the tall grass, each painted with dark colors and decorated with strange symbols. Lanterns hung from their sides, glowing soft gold in the cold wind. Rina's heart pounded as she stared. She had seen circuses before, but never like this. There were no bright colors, no cheerful banners, no music, only cold light, dark wagons and masked figures moving silently like shadows. The wolf-masked figure pushed her toward one of the wagons. Rina stumbled as the bird-masked figure opened the back door. Inside, the wagon was dim and narrow. Blankets were rolled against the wall, and a wooden bench ran along one side. Sit, the bird mask whispered. Rina hesitated. The wolf mask shoved her inside. She fell onto the wooden floor. The bird mask pulled a small chain from the wall and snapped it around her ankle. Rina gasped and tried to pull away, but the chain held. Why? She whispered. Why do this to me? I didn't do anything. The bird mask paused. You belong to the circus now, the figure said, voice soft but firm. The Ringmaster decides your place. The wagon door shut. Darkness swallowed her. The caravan began to move. Rina pressed her hands against her face as tears finally escaped her eyes. She cried until she had no strength left to cry. Outside, wheels rolled over dirt and stone as the circus moved down the road toward the forest. Inside, Rina clung to the cold chains and tried to breathe. Hours passed. The wagon rocked, lanterns swayed, and the cold air seeped through the cracks. Rina tried to sleep, but every creak and whisper from outside kept her awake. She heard footsteps, low murmurs, soft laughter, the crack of a whip, the grunt of something heavy being lifted. At one point, she heard a sound that made her blood run cold. A growl, low, deep, and inhuman. Rina pressed herself against the wall. What kind of circus was this? As the night grew colder, the caravan finally slowed. Rina heard the ringmaster's voice outside. "We rest here." Hooves stopped. Wheels creaked to stillness. The door of her wagon opened. Rina blinked against the sudden light. The wolf mask stood in the doorway, holding a bowl. "Eat," the figure said. "I'm not hungry," Rina whispered. The wolf mask stepped in and set the bowl on the floor. "You must," the figure said quietly. "You will need strength." Rina frowned. "Strength for what?" The figure didn't answer. Instead, the wolf mask stepped closer and knelt beside her. "I should not speak," the figure whispered, voice softer and more human than before. "But you should know this much." Rina stared at the blank mask. "Know what?" she whispered. The wolf mask tilted its head toward the center wagon, the largest one, painted black with pale gold lines. "That man," the wolf mask whispered, "the ringmaster, is not what he seems." Rina's breath caught. "What is he?" Silence. Then, "Pray you never find out." The wolf mask stood and left the wagon, shutting the door behind it. Rina sat in the dim light, staring at the bowl. Her hands trembled. What had her stepbrothers sold her into? Rina didn't sleep. She sat awake long after the other wagons quieted. She listened as the wind rushed through the trees, as soft footsteps passed now and then. She watched the lantern outside sway until it dimmed. Near midnight, she heard the soft tap of a cane on the ground. Once, twice, then silence. The door opened. The ringmaster stepped inside. His tall frame filled the doorway as he ducked under the wooden beam. His mask caught the lantern light, its smooth surface glowing faintly. Behind him, the world outside seemed darker. Rina pushed herself against the far wall, her ankle chain rattling. The ringmaster closed the door gently. "You are awake," he said. Rina didn't answer. He stepped closer, the slow tap of his cane marking each stride. When he reached her, he lowered himself to one knee, so his masked face was level with hers. "Your stepbrothers spoke little," he said, "but they spoke enough." "I don't care what they said," Rina whispered, trying to keep her voice from shaking. "Oh," he replied softly, "then let me ask you myself." He rested one hand on his cane. "Do you have fear of the circus?" Rina nodded slowly. "Do you fear me?" Her voice barely left her throat. "Yes." The ringmaster tilted his head, studying her. His mask did not move, but she felt his gaze like cold fingers on her skin. "Good," he said quietly. "Fear keeps you alive." Rina shivered. "What do you want from me?" she asked. The ringmaster lifted one hand and touched her cheek with his cold fingertips. She flinched, but he held her still. "You will learn your place," he said. "You will serve the circus." "I don't want to," Rina whispered. He leaned closer. "You no longer have a choice." Rina's breath came fast. "Please," she whispered, "let me go." The ringmaster drew back slightly. "No." Tears filled her eyes. "Why?" she asked. "Why me?" The ringmaster rose to his feet and tapped his cane lightly on the floor. "Because," he said in a voice that filled the small wagon, "the circus has been watching your family for years." Rina froze. "What? Why?" The ringmaster opened the wagon door, letting moonlight spill across the floor. He turned back to her one last time. "Because your mother was not what she claimed to be." Rina's breath stopped. Before she could speak, the ringmaster stepped out of the wagon and closed the door behind him. She was alone again, alone in the dark, alone with fear. and alone with a new question. What secret had her mother kept all those years? Rina barely slept after the ringmaster left. His final words replayed in her mind over and over. Your mother was not what she claimed to be. By morning, the caravan wagons were already rolling again, wheels creaking through the dirt path that cut deep into the forest. Tall trees rose on both sides, their branches woven tightly overhead. The sky dimmed beneath them until the world looked trapped beneath a web of shadows. Rina sat chained to the wagon floor, her eyes fixed on the narrow window slits. Every now and then she caught glimpses of strange carvings on tree trunks, twisted shapes, spirals, symbols she didn't recognize. The forest seemed to watch her. Around midday, the caravan halted again. The bird-masked figure opened the door. "You will come out," the figure said. Rina's hands shook as they unlocked the chain. She stepped down onto the cold earth, blinking against the pale light filtering through the leaves. Dozens of circus members moved around the clearing, masked, silent, efficient. Some unloaded crates. Others tended to strange beasts inside barred carriages. She heard growling again, low and heavy, like something too large to be natural. Rina tried not to look. The bird mask guided her toward a smaller wagon near the tree line. "You will help here," the figure said. "Cleaning only. Nothing else." Rina stepped inside. The wagon smelled of herbs and old wood. Bottles lined the shelves, filled with powders and liquids of every color. Strange tools lay neatly arranged on the table. Silver knives, coils of wire, small glass jars sealed with wax. A woman stood inside, her long dark hair tied back, her face uncovered. She wore no mask. She turned when Rina entered. "You must be the girl they brought last night," the woman said softly. Rina nodded, unsure what to say. The woman smiled gently. "I'm Mara. I take care of the injured performers, and sometimes the animals." Rina glanced at the jars and tools again. "Is this a healer's wagon?" Mara hesitated. "Yes," she said finally, though something in her voice sounded unsure. The bird mask handed Mara a small pouch. Her stepbrothers requested this. Mira opened the pouch, her face tightening slightly. "I see." Rina frowned. "What is it?" Mira tied the pouch shut quickly. "Nothing for you to worry about right now." The bird mask left the wagon. Mira waited until the door closed before she turned back to Rina. "Sit," she said, pointing to a wooden stool. Rina obeyed, though her legs trembled. Mira's eyes softened as she looked at her. "You're frightened," she said gently. Rina nodded. "I don't understand any of this," Rina whispered. "Why am I here? What does the ringmaster want from me? And what did he mean about my mother?" At the mention of her mother, Mara's expression changed. She looked away, as though thinking carefully before speaking. "Your mother," Mara said slowly, "was known to the circus long ago." Rina's breath caught. You knew her?" Mara paused. "I knew of her," she said. "Everyone here did." Rina leaned forward. "Why? Who was she?" Mara lifted a small knife from the table. She began cutting strips of cloth, but her hands moved slower than before. "Your mother," Mara said quietly, "was born with something unusual." Rina's heart pounded. "What do you mean?" Mara didn't answer immediately. She finished cutting the cloth, folded it, and set it aside. Then she finally looked up, straight into Rina's eyes. "She was born with a mark," Mara said. "A mark that appears only once in a generation." Rina shook her head. "A mark? What kind of mark?" Mara hesitated. "Show me your wrist." Rina frowned. "What? Why?" "Please," Mara said softly. "Show me." Slowly, Rina lifted her hand and rolled back her sleeve. Mara took Rina's wrist gently and turned it toward the light. There, faint but visible, was a small shape beneath her skin. A swirl, a curved line, like a crescent wrapped around a circle. Rina had seen it before. She always thought it was nothing more than a birthmark. Mara inhaled sharply. "It's the same," she whispered. "Just like your mother." Rina's heart thudded in her chest. "What does it mean?" she asked, voice barely a whisper. Mara swallowed. "It means the Ringmaster will never let you go." Rina froze. Her hand trembled. "No," she whispered. "No, that can't be right. It's just a mark." "It is not a normal mark," Mara said firmly. "Your mother's birthmark drew the circus to her years ago. She refused them. She ran. She hid. And when she died, the circus waited, knowing she might have passed the mark onto her child." Rina felt her stomach twist. "So they watched my family," Rina said, "all this time." "Yes," Mara whispered. "They watched. They waited. Until now." Rina squeezed her eyes shut. Her stepbrothers didn't know. They couldn't have known. They thought they were selling her for coin, but the circus wanted her long before that. "Why?" Rina whispered desperately. "What does this mark do? Why is it so important?" Mara's lips tightened. "I can't tell you everything," she said. "Not yet. But I can tell you this much." She leaned closer. "Your mother's mark was a key." Rina swallowed hard. "A key to what?" Mira opened her mouth, but before she could answer, the wagon door burst open. The Ringmaster stood in the doorway. Rina's breath stopped. He stepped inside slowly, his cane tapping against the wooden floor. "Mara," he said calmly. Mara stiffened. "Yes, Ringmaster?" "You are speaking too freely." Mara bowed her head. "My apologies." The Ringmaster turned his masked face toward Rina. "You will come with me." Rina gripped the stool. "Why?" she whispered. The Ringmaster extended a hand, the pale leather glove nearly glowing in the dim light. "Because," he said, "it is time you learned what you truly are." Rina followed the Ringmaster through the forest clearing, her heart beating so fast she felt lightheaded. Masked performers parted silently as they passed, bowing their heads as if the Ringmaster were some kind of king. He led her to the largest wagon, the black one she had seen before, the one the wolf mask warned her about. Strange symbols were carved into the wood, and thin metal chains wrapped around its sides like ribs. Rina hesitated at the steps. "Inside," the Ringmaster said. She swallowed and climbed. The inside was far larger than she expected, far too large to fit inside a wagon. The space stretched outward like a small hall, lined with tall mirrors on every wall. Rina shivered. "I don't understand," she whispered. "What is this place?" The Ringmaster walked to the center of the room. "This," he said, "is where truth is revealed." Rina looked at her reflection in one of the mirrors, except her reflection moved slightly differently than she did. Her breath caught. What is wrong with the mirror?" "Nothing," the Ringmaster said softly. "It is you who does not yet understand." He tapped his cane once. The sound echoed through the room. The reflections in every mirror flickered. Rina froze. In the mirrors, her reflection began to change. The mark on her wrist glowed faintly. Shadows curled around her outline. Her eyes shimmered with a pale, unfamiliar light. Rina staggered back. "What is happening?" The Ringmaster stepped behind her. "You are awakening," he whispered. "I don't want this," Rina cried. "I don't want any of this." The Ringmaster's voice lowered, calm but unyielding. "It does not matter what you want. It only matters what you are. Her reflections stared back at her, dozens of them, each one glowing faintly, each one shifting with some hidden energy. Rina pressed her hands to her face. "Stop," she whispered. "Please stop." The ringmaster stepped closer until he stood at her side. "Your mother hid you for 17 years, he said softly, "but you cannot hide anymore." "I'm not her," Rina whispered. "You are more than her," the ringmaster answered. "You have her mark, her gift, and soon you will learn to use it." Rina backed away. "I don't want a gift. I want my life back." The ringmaster shook his head slowly. "That is no longer possible." Rina felt tears rise in her eyes. "Why?" she whispered. "Why me?" The ringmaster touched his gloved fingers gently to the mark on her wrist. "Because," he said, "you are the key that will wake the sleepers." Rina's blood ran cold. The what?" The ringmaster lifted his cane. The mirrors darkened. Shapes moved in the shadows. Long, heavy breaths echoed from the other side of the glass. Rina stepped back fast. "What are those?" she whispered. The ringmaster answered without hesitation. "Your mother knew their name," he said. "Now you must learn it too." He leaned close. "They are the ones who sleep beneath the earth, the ones who answer to the ancient mark." Rina shook her head furiously. "I'm not part of this. I'm not like my mother." The ringmaster's masked face tilted. "You will be," he whispered. "In time." Rina stumbled backward, and one of the mirrors cracked, but not from the outside. Something inside the mirror struck it, hard. Rina screamed. The ringmaster tapped his cane once. Silence fell. The shadows receded. The breathing stopped. But the crack remained. Rina clung to the wall, trembling. The ringmaster lifted her chin gently, his cold touch making her shiver. "You cannot deny your blood," he said. "You cannot outrun your heritage." Rina's voice shook. "Why are you doing this to me?" The ringmaster paused. Then he spoke in a voice so soft it almost didn't belong to him. "Because I made a promise to your mother." Rina froze. She stared at him. "My mother," she whispered. "What promise?" The ringmaster stepped back into the shadows. "That," he said, "is a story for another night." Before she could speak again, he tapped his cane twice. The hall of mirrors vanished. In an instant she was standing outside the wagon, breathless, trembling, staring at the empty forest air. The wagon door shut behind her. Rina stood alone, confused, terrified, and more trapped than ever. Rina stood alone outside the wagon, her breath trembling in the cold air. The forest around her was too quiet. No birds, no wind, no voices, as if the world held its breath with her. Her wrist throbbed lightly where the mark lay under her skin. Not painful, but warm, aware. She rubbed it hard, as if she could erase it, as if she could wipe away her mother's secrets. But it didn't fade. Footsteps approached behind her. Rina spun and relaxed a little when she recognized Mara walking toward her with slow steps, her face tight with worry. "I heard you were taken to the black wagon," Mara said softly. "Are you hurt?" Rina shook her head, though her voice trembled. "No. But something inside there." She swallowed. Something hit the mirror. Mara closed her eyes as if confirming a fear. "So he showed you the mirrors already," she whispered. Rina clutched her wrist. "Mara, he said my mother made a promise. Do you know anything about that?" Mara hesitated. Then she stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Your mother did everything she could to keep you from this place," Mara said. "That much I know. But the promise he speaks of, only he and your mother knew that truth." Rina looked away. "I'm scared," she whispered. Mira touched her shoulder gently. "I would be surprised if you weren't." For a moment, they stood in silence. Then Mira pointed toward the far end of the clearing, where a dark opening yawned in the ground, surrounded by ropes and wooden posts. Rina had seen it from the wagon window earlier. A pit, wide and deep, covered by heavy metal bars. A chill crawled down her back. "What is that?" she asked. Mara sighed. "That," she said, "is where the circus keeps the ones your mark can awaken." Rina froze. "What do you mean?" Mara didn't answer. She didn't have to. A sound rose from beneath the pit. A slow, dragging breath. Heavy. Inhuman. Rina stepped back automatically. Mara grabbed her hand. "Don't go near it," she warned. "Not yet." Rina swallowed, fear climbing her throat. "What are they?" she whispered. Mara's voice lowered to a faint tremor. "Creatures older than our kingdoms. Older than our books. They have slept for centuries deep beneath the soil, and only those with the mark can open their chains." Rina felt sick. "I don't want to open anything." Mara looked at her sadly. "You may not have a choice." A long silence hung in the air, before Mara gently pulled Rina away from the pit. "Come," she said. "There's something I need to show you." Mara led Rina back to the healer's wagon. Inside, she shut the door quickly and pressed her back against it, as if hiding Rina from the entire world. "Sit," she said. Rina obeyed, though dread churned in her stomach. Mara knelt before a small wooden drawer beneath her table, a drawer Rina hadn't noticed earlier. Mara reached inside and pulled out a folded piece of paper sealed with a wax imprint. She handed it to Rina. "This," Mara said, "was given to me 17 years ago by a woman with your eyes." Rina's breath caught. "My mother?" Mara nodded. "She gave it to me on the night she fled the circus. She said, if the day ever came when her child was taken, I was to give this letter to them." Rina stared at the letter, her hands shaking. She touched the wax seal with her thumb. "What did she write?" Rina whispered. Mara's voice softened. "I never opened it. It was not mine to read." With trembling fingers, Rina broke the seal. She unfolded the letter. Her mother's handwriting spread across the page. Simple, soft, familiar. Rina's eyes blurred with tears as she began reading. "My sweet Rina, if you are reading this, the circus has found you. Forgive me. I tried to protect you, but the mark on your wrist is stronger than anything I could hide." Rina clutched the page tightly. Mara placed a hand on her shoulder for support. Rina continued reading, voice shaking. "You must never trust the Ringmaster. He will use your gift for his own purpose. He will tell you that you were born for this. You were not. You are more than the mark on your wrist. You are more than the blood in your veins. Please remember that." Rina swallowed hard. More tears spilled down her cheeks. "If you can escape, run north. There is a woman there who once saved my life. Her name is Mira. She knows the truth of the sleepers. She knows the truth of me. And she knows the truth of you." Rina lowered the letter, her hands trembling violently. Mara gently took it from her before it fell. "Rina," Mara whispered, "your mother risked everything to keep you out of this place." Rina wiped her tears with shaking fingers. "What are the sleepers?" Rina whispered. Why did she fear them so much? Before Mara could answer, the ground shook. A deep rumbling rolled through the wagon floor, rattling the bottles and tools. Rina gasped and grabbed the table. Mara's face went pale. "No," she breathed. It's too soon. They were not supposed to stir yet." A second rumble followed. Louder. Closer. Mara rushed to the window and looked toward the pit. "No, no, no," she whispered. Rina staggered to her feet. "What's happening?" Mara turned to her, eyes wide with fear. "You were too close to the mirrors," she said. "Something inside them felt your mark. And now—" Something screamed from beneath the ground. A twisted, rising howl that made Rina's blood freeze. Now, the sleepers are waking. Rina and Mara ran out of the wagon. The performers rushed around the clearing in a panic, some pulling animals back into cages, others dragging heavy chains toward the pit. Smoke rose from the cracks in the earth. The metal bars over the pit glowed red-hot, bending outward. Rina stumbled backward, heart pounding. "What's happening?" Mira grabbed her arm. "They can feel you," she said. "Your mark is calling to them. You need to—" Before she could finish, the ringmaster appeared from the shadows, calm as ever. He lifted a hand. "Everyone, stand back." The masked performers obeyed instantly. The ground trembled again, and a large crack split the earth beside the pit. Rina felt heat rise beneath her feet, like fire climbing upward from the core of the world. A horrible, distorted voice echoed from below, a voice that did not sound human. "Key, the key, the key." Rina stepped back fast. "No," she whispered. "No, I'm not a key. I'm not—" The ringmaster turned his masked face toward her. "Oh, but you are," he whispered. Light poured from the mark on her wrist. Rina screamed. She clutched her arm, but the glow only grew brighter, spreading up her veins like pale fire. Mira shouted, "She can't control it! Stop this!" The ringmaster ignored her. He lifted his cane over the pit. Chains rose from the ground, ancient, rusted, glowing with the same pale light as Rina's mark. Rina felt her breath leave her body. "No," she gasped. "Please stop." The ringmaster's voice echoed across the clearing. It is time the first sleeper opened its eyes. The ground split open. A massive shadowed hand clawed upward through the smoke. Rina screamed. The circus performers fell to their knees. The ringmaster bowed his head, and the thing beneath the earth began to rise. The creature's hand broke fully through the earth. Enormous, dark, covered in skin that looked cracked like old stone. Smoke curled around its fingers as it gripped the edge of the pit and pulled itself upward. Rina could hardly breathe. The air turned cold and heavy, pressing against her chest. Voices whispered all around her, not from mouths, but from the wind, from the soil, from inside her own mind. Key. Open. Awaken. Rina staggered back until she hit a wagon wheel. Mara grabbed her arm again. "We have to get out of the open." But before she could pull Rina away, the ringmaster lifted his cane and slammed it into the ground. A shockwave burst from the pit, knocking performers backward. Rina fell to her knees, covering her ears against the explosion of sound. The sleeper's head rose above the pit, not fully formed, its features shifting like smoke and shadow. Its body looked half stone, half living, as if ancient magic had kept it trapped between worlds. Its eyes snapped open, burning white. They locked onto Rina instantly. Rina froze in terror. Mara stepped in front of her. "Don't look at it," Mara hissed. "If you meet its eyes—" The sleeper roared. The sound shattered two nearby cages and sent a tree crashing to the ground. Rina gasped and clung to Mara's arm. "What does it want from me?" Mara's voice shook. "Everything." The ringmaster stepped forward, his voice calm, almost reverent. "First sleeper," he said, bowing slightly. The key has arrived. Rina's blood ran cold. No, no, no. She clutched her mother's letter tightly in her pocket. I'm not a key, Rina whispered. I'm not opening anything. The sleeper's eyes flared brighter. Chains burst out of the pit, still attached to its limbs, rattling violently. Then the chains turned toward Rina, like they were alive. One of the chains shot forward. Rina, move! Mara shoved her aside. The chain missed Rina by inches and slammed into the dirt, carving a trench as it dragged through the ground. Mira pulled Rina to her feet. Run! Mira yelled. Rina ran. Rina sprinted through the clearing, her breath sharp, her heart pounding so hard it felt like it would break her ribs. Behind her, the sleeper roared again, the sound tearing through the trees. Masked performers scrambled out of her path as she ran toward the forest edge. Don't let her leave the clearing, the ringmaster commanded. 3 masked figures lunged to block her path, wielding long staffs. Rina skidded to a stop. No, no, please. They advanced, but Mara appeared behind them, swinging a heavy metal lantern. She struck the first one in the back of the head, dropping him instantly. The second turned, and Mara kicked him hard in the stomach. Rina, go, she shouted. Rina darted past them without looking back. The third masked figure reached for her, but a chain shot from the pit and wrapped around his waist, yanking him into the air. He screamed before vanishing into the smoke. Rina didn't dare look. She ran into the forest, branches slapping her arms, dirt sliding under her feet. Her lungs burned. Her legs shook, but she kept running. Behind her, trees cracked as something enormous pushed through them. The sleeper was climbing out of the earth. The ground shook beneath her feet. Please, Rina sobbed. Please, just let me go. She stumbled into a small clearing where the trees opened into a narrow path. Light filtered down from above, thin and pale. She didn't know where she was going. She didn't care. She just needed to get away. Rina reached a fallen log and stopped behind it, bending over as she gasped for air. Sweat and tears blurred her vision. She pressed her back against a tree, trying to steady her breath. Then her wrist began to glow again. Rina stared at the mark, horrified. No, no, not now. The glow grew brighter, spreading through her veins, and she felt something, a pulse, a call, not from the ringmaster, not from the circus, from the sleeper. It was calling her, pulling her, reaching for her. Rina clutched her wrist and screamed in frustration. Stop! I don't want this. I don't want any of this. But the glow only grew. Her knees buckled and she dropped to the ground. The air around her shimmered. Her vision blurred. And then a voice spoke inside her mind. Soft, deep, ancient. You cannot run from what you are. Rina's breath stopped. Who are you? The voice answered. The one you are meant to wake. Rina crawled backward, her back hitting roots. No, I don't want to wake anything. Leave me alone. The voice grew colder. The chains weaken. Do not resist. Your blood calls to us. Rina squeezed her eyes shut and pressed her hands over her ears. Stop. Stop. But the voice didn't stop. Awaken us. And then silence. The glow faded. Rina opened her eyes, shaking violently. The forest was quiet again. The sleeper's roar echoed faintly in the distance. But the voice, the presence, it was still there, like a cold shadow lingering behind her heartbeat. Rina curled into herself. I want to go home, she whispered. But there was no home left for her. Not anymore. Rina. The voice came from behind her. Rina spun, terrified, but stopped when she saw the wolf mask. the same one who had warned her on the first night. The wolf-masked figure stepped out from behind a cluster of trees, breathing hard, as if they had followed her at a run. "Come with me," the wolf mask said. "You don't have much time." Rina backed away. "Why should I trust you? You're one of them." The wolf mask shook their head. "I'm not like the others. That's what they all say. Do you think I would warn you if I wanted you dead?" Rina hesitated. The ground shook again in the distance. The sleeper was still breaking its final chains. "You know what you are," the wolf mask said softly. "Don't you?" Rina shook her head. "No, I don't understand anything." "You will," the wolf mask said, "but only if you listen." Rina swallowed hard. "What do you want from me?" The wolf mask took a slow step toward her. "I want to help you escape." Rina's breath caught. "Why?" The mask tilted slightly. "Because," they said, "your mother once helped me." Rina froze. "My mother knew you?" The wolf mask nodded. "She saved my life, and I promised her that I would protect you if the circus ever found you." Rina's eyes filled with tears again. "Then tell me," she whispered. "What am I? What is this mark? Why can it wake those things?" The wolf mask didn't answer immediately. Instead, they stepped closer and extended a hand. "I'll explain everything," the wolf mask said. "But if you stay here, the sleeper will find you first." Rina hesitated. Her hand trembled, but she placed it into the wolf mask's hand because she had no choice, because she was tired of running blind, because she needed answers, and because her mother once trusted this person. The wolf mask gently pulled her to her feet. "Good," they said. "Now follow me." Rina nodded, and together they fled deeper into the forest as the sleeper's roar shattered the sky behind them. Branches whipped past as Rina followed the wolf mask deeper into the forest. Their pace was fast, silent, precise. They moved like someone who had memorized every root and shadow. Behind them, distant roars cracked through the trees. Rina glanced back. "I can still hear it," she whispered. "You will," the wolf mask said, "until it finds another target. But you were its first call, its strongest." Rina winced. "Don't say that. I didn't ask." "I know." Their tone softened, but they didn't stop moving. Rina struggled to keep up, jumping over roots, pushing through thorns that scratched her arms. The forest grew darker as they moved, the canopy tightening overhead. The air felt heavier here, charged, alive. Finally, the wolf mask slowed and motioned for Rina to do the same. A quiet clearing opened ahead. Rina stepped into it and froze. A massive tree stood at the center. Its trunk was twisted, old, covered in black moss. But its roots glowed faintly, like veins of light running beneath the bark. Rina whispered, "What is this place?" The wolf mask removed their glove and pressed a hand to the glowing roots. "This tree is older than the circus, older than the sleepers, older than the wars that buried them." They stepped back. "And it's the only place the sleeper cannot sense you." Rina's shoulders sagged with exhausted relief. "So we're safe. For the moment." The wolf mask finally turned fully toward her. "We need to talk." Rina sank onto a low root, her legs trembling as the wolf mask knelt across from her. Their voice lowered. "Your mother's name was Kara." Rina nodded shakily. "Yes." "She was once a part of the circus." Rina's lungs tightened. "No, that can't be right. My mother hated the circus. She always avoided traveling shows. She avoided them because she knew they were searching for her," the wolf mask said gently. Because she escaped from them. Rina felt the world tilt. My mother was one of them. No, the wolf mask said quickly. Never. She was taken by them, and she ran before they could use her. Rina blinked hard, her breath fast and shallow. But why her? Why would they care about my mother? The wolf mask paused. Then, because she carried the same mark that now burns on your wrist. Rina's stomach dropped. No, that's not possible. I've never seen... She never had. She hid it, the wolf mask said. Covered it with bandages, gloves, anything she could find. Rina stared at her own wrist, the faint glow still lingering beneath the skin. But why? She whispered. Why would she hide something like this? The wolf mask sat beside her. Because the mark isn't just magic. It's bloodline. Rina's fingers curled slowly around her wrist. Bloodline? The wolf mask nodded. Your family comes from the first group that sealed the sleepers away. Rina's heart stopped. My family? Sealed them? Yes. The wolf mask leaned closer. The sleepers were never meant to rise. Not unless someone of your blood awakened them. The mark chooses one person each generation. One person with the power to open or close their prison. Rina shook her head violently. No, that can't be true. I don't have powers. I'm nobody. The wolf mask touched her shoulder gently. You are not nobody. You were born with a purpose you never asked for. Rina looked at the ground. So, the Ringmaster, the Circus, they want me because they think I can open the others? The wolf mask's voice hardened. They don't just think. They know. Rina wrapped her arms around herself. What happened to my mother? She whispered. How did she escape? If the circus wanted her. The wolf mask hesitated. For the first time. Finally, they answered. She didn't escape alone. I helped her. Rina's head snapped up. You? The wolf mask nodded once. She saved my life long before that night. And when she ran, I ran with her. But they chased us for days. Your mother was already wounded when she put you in my arms. Rina's breath caught in her throat. She handed you to me, the wolf mask whispered, and told me to hide you, to keep you far from the circus, to make sure they never found you. Rina's vision blurred with tears. And then, she choked out. What happened to her? The wolf mask bowed their head. She turned back, to stop them, to buy you time. Rina covered her mouth, trying not to scream. She died, she whispered. I don't know, the wolf mask admitted, but I never saw her again. Rina's whole body trembled. All these years. Her mother's warnings, her constant fear of traveling roads, her insistence that Rina never go out at night. It all made a terrible, perfect sense now. Her mother had been running, not from danger, but from destiny. Rina wiped her face with shaking hands. Why now? She whispered. Why did the mark wake up now? The wolf mask exhaled. Because the seals are weakening. After centuries, magic fades. Barriers crumble. But why me? Rina cried out. Why am I the one who has to deal with this? Why not someone else in my family? My mother never wanted... Because, the wolf mask said firmly, you inherited the strongest bond to the chains that hold them. Rina felt cold. The chains. Yes. The wolf mask pointed to her wrist. That mark isn't a symbol. It's a lock. One that responds to blood. When you were near the pit, it sensed the sleeper. It woke because it had to. Because its purpose is to oppose them. Rina swallowed hard. It hurts, she whispered. It burns every time they're near. That pain means the seals are still working. The bond is strong. You are stronger than your mother ever was. Rina felt no comfort in that. What happens if the mark opens completely? The wolf mask didn't answer immediately. When they finally did, their voice was grim. If it opens, the sleepers won't just rise. They will control you. Rina's breath froze. No, I would never. They won't ask, the wolf mask said softly. They will bend you, break you, use your blood like a key to free every one of them. And once all the sleepers rise, they looked into the dark canopy overhead. The world will not survive the storm that follows. Rina buried her face in her hands. This is too much, she whispered. I'm not ready. I can't do any of this. I just want my life back. I know, the wolf mask said. They placed a gentle hand over hers. But the sleepers don't care what you want. Rina lifted her head, eyes watered. Then what do I do? The wolf mask looked toward the deeper forest. You learn to control the mark before they control you. Rina's heart thudded. Can I? Yes, the wolf mask said, and I know who can teach you. Rina stared. Who? The wolf mask stepped back, lifting their head as the forest wind stirred the leaves. Someone your mother trusted. Someone who knows the mark better than anyone alive. Rina watched them, breath unsteady. And who is that? The wolf mask turned toward the north. The last guardian of the seals. Rina froze. You mean someone survived? Yes. Rina stood slowly. Where are they? The wolf mask pointed into the darkness. Beyond the river, in the ruins of the old fortress. Rina took a breath. What's their name? The wolf mask answered with quiet weight. His name is Varen. Rina whispered the name. Varen. But before she could say anything else, a distant roar shattered the forest. Rina jumped, eyes wide. The wolf mask grabbed her arm. They've found our trail, they said. We go now. Rina nodded, wiping her tears. She wasn't ready. She was terrified. She didn't know who to trust anymore. But she knew one thing. Whatever waited beyond the river, whatever her mother had once trusted, it was her only chance. The forest no longer felt like a place of refuge. As Rina and the wolf mask rushed through twisting roots and hanging branches, the trees themselves seemed to lean away from the direction behind them, as if something poisonous was passing through. The air trembled. The forest floor vibrated. Rina's breath hitched. He's coming, she whispered. Not him, the wolf mask corrected grimly. Worse. Rina stumbled at the word. There's something worse than that creature? Yes. The wolf mask gripped her arm tightly. The sleeper doesn't hunt. He destroys. But the things he calls... Their voice dropped to a whisper. Those hunt. Rina's stomach twisted. What does he call? The wolf mask didn't look back. You're about to find out. They reached a narrow ridge where the ground dipped sharply downhill. The river was somewhere below. Rina could hear it faintly, rushing over rocks. We're close? She asked, breathless. Close, the wolf mask said, but not close enough. A sharp, piercing howl cut through the trees. Rina froze. That wasn't an animal, she whispered. No. Another howl answered from the left, then another from the right. 3, 4, 5 voices, surrounding them. Rina felt her panic spike. What are they? The wolf mask unsheathed a short blade hidden beneath their cloak. They're called shades. Rina's hands shook. Shades. They're not alive, the wolf mask said quietly, but they're not dead either. Branches cracked behind them. Rina spun. Something moved between the trees. Fast, silent, almost unseen. Not a shape. More like a ripple of darkness. Don't run, the wolf mask warned. They're faster. Rina swallowed hard. What do they want? You, the wolf mask answered. Your scent. The sleeper marked you. Rina felt sick. But why me? Why can't he just leave me? Rina, focus. The wolf mask positioned themselves between her and the growing shadows. You must stay behind me, no matter what. Understand? Rina nodded, her throat tight. The howls grew louder, closer, hungry. Rina clutched her wrist. It was glowing again. No, not now, she gasped. The wolf mask stepped closer. Listen to me. The mark is reacting because they're near. Try to breathe. If you panic, it glows brighter. I can't control it, Rina said, shaking. It hurts. She winced as a burning pulse tore through her arm. The glow spread across her veins like fire. The wolf mask put a steady hand on her back. You can do this. You are stronger than you think. A low growl crawled through the leaves behind them. The first shade stepped into view. Rina's breath caught in her throat. The creature emerging from the trees looked wrong. Terribly wrong. It had the shape of a wolf, but its body was made of flowing shadow, not fur. Its eyes glowed faint white, like distant moons. Its movements were broken and smooth at the same time, like wind trying to mimic life. Its jaws dripped smoke. Rina whispered, "That's a shade?" Yes. It took a step closer. Rina took one back. There are more, the wolf mask said. And there were. Shadows oozed from the trees, forming shapes of wolves, hounds, twisted deer-like things, all blinking with white eyes, all staring at Rina as if she were the only thing that existed. The wolf mask tightened their grip on the blade. Do not look into their eyes. They don't have minds. Only instinct. Rina hugged herself, trembling. What instinct? The wolf mask answered without looking at her. To drag you back to the sleeper. The nearest shade lunged. Rina screamed. The wolf mask moved faster than she had ever seen, slicing clean through the shade's throat. It burst into smoke, but the smoke didn't fade. It crawled back into shape, regenerating. They don't die, Rina cried. Not unless you cut the heart, the wolf mask gritted out. If they have one. The shade lunged again. This time 2 more followed. Rina fell backward, scrambling in the dirt. The wolf mask slashed left, then right, kicking another shade away. But for everyone they struck down, another stepped from the forest. Rina's heart raced out of control. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't think. The mark burned like a brand, light pulsing violently. No, please, stop. A shade approached her slowly, head low, eyes fixed on her. Its mouth opened, showing rows of shadow-made fangs. Rina pushed herself back until her shoulders hit a tree. She lifted her hands defensively, and the mark detonated with light. A burst of white fire shot from Rina's wrist, blasting the shade backward into a tree. The explosion shook the clearing. Smoke spiraled upward. The ground cracked beneath her feet. The wolf mask whipped their head toward her, stunned. Rina! Rina stared at her own arm, horrified. I didn't mean to. I didn't even know I could do that. The wolf mask blocked another shade with their blade. You can't control it yet. The surge responds to your fear. I am afraid, Rina cried. That's the problem. Another shade lunged at her. Her wrist flared again. But this time the light sputtered. Rina gasped. It's not working. You're draining yourself too fast, the wolf mask said. Get up. Move. Rina forced herself to stand, legs trembling violently. The shades circled closer. Her mark dimmed, flickering like a dying candle. No, Rina whispered. Please don't go out. Please. A shade leapt at her from behind. Rina screamed. The wolf mask shoved her aside and took the blow instead. The shadow fangs ripped into their cloak, tearing cloth and skin. They fell hard to the ground. "No!" Rina cried, crawling to them. Blood seeped through their sleeve. The wolf mask coughed. "Rina, run. I'm not leaving you. You have to—" But the shade pack was already closing in, half a dozen of them preparing to strike all at once. Rina's heart hammered. Her vision blurred with fear. The mark sparked, flickered, then went dark. "No, no, no," the wolf mask whispered. "I'm sorry. Your mother wanted more time." Rina grabbed their hand. "Don't say that. You're not dying." But the shades were charging. Rina screamed, throwing herself protectively over the wolf mask. When a golden arrow shot through the trees and hit the leading shade square in the skull, the shade exploded into light and vanished. Rina's eyes widened. Another arrow flew, then another. The pack turned. Fog rolled across the clearing. Leaves twisted in a sudden wind. Footsteps approached. A tall figure emerged from the shadows, a cloak of dark green, armor old as stone, a bow carved with glowing runes, eyes sharp and steady. Rina's breath caught. The wolf mask exhaled, exhausted. Varen. Rina froze. This was him, the guardian, her mother's old ally, the one who could teach her to control the mark. Varen lowered his bow and looked at her. His voice was deep, calm, and strangely gentle. "Rina," he said, "we need to leave. Now." Rina nodded, shaking. Varen stepped forward, lifting her to her feet with steady hands. "You've awakened the sleeper's call," he said quietly, "and now everything in this forest is coming for you." Rina swallowed hard. "What do I do?" she asked. Varen met her eyes. "You survive." He glanced at her dim mark. "And you learn." Varen moved like a ghost through the trees, guiding Rina with one hand, while the other kept his bow raised. The wolf mask limped beside them, one arm pressed against their wound. The roar of the river grew louder. Rina stumbled as they reached the wide riverbank, mist curling up from the water in swirling silver ribbons. The river was fierce, churning with white foam. "We're crossing that?" Rina asked, shaking. "Yes," Varen said. "Shades won't enter running water, and the sleeper cannot reach across it. Not yet." Rina looked back toward the dark forest. The shadows moved there, watching, waiting. She stepped into the water. It was ice cold. Varen held her steady as they crossed, their legs pushing against the hard current. The wolf mask struggled, breath harsh, but refused help. Halfway across, the trees behind them shuddered. The forest screamed. Shadows rushed to the river's edge, but none stepped in. They paced like wolves trapped behind glass. Rina felt their hunger, their yearning, their hatred. Her wrist pulsed, weaker now, but still painfully aware of their eyes. "Don't look back," Varen said quietly. Rina didn't. They reached the far bank moments later, soaked and shaking. The shades vanished into the darkness behind them. But Rina knew the sleeper had not given up. Not even close. The fortress rose from the cliffs like a broken crown. Tall stone towers cracked from age, walls covered in black vines, windows hollow like empty skulls. "This place," Rina whispered. "It feels wrong." "It should," Varen said. "It was built on top of the first chain." Rina looked up sharply. "The first chain?" Varen nodded. "One of the seals your ancestors placed to hold back the sleepers. Every fortress built over one was meant to protect the world. Now only this one remains." They passed through the gate. Inside, old banners hung in tatters. Suits of armor stood like silent guards. The wind whispered through broken arches. Varen led Rina to the center courtyard. An altar of stone stood there, cracked, old, radiating faint light. Place your wrist here, Varen said gently. Rina hesitated. Will it hurt? Yes, Varen answered honestly, but it must be done. Rina stepped forward. Her hand shook as she lowered her wrist. The mark touched the stone. The ground trembled. A cold shock shot through her arm, then her spine, then everywhere at once. Rina cried out, falling to her knees. The mark glowed violently, too bright, too wild. I can't do this. You can, Varen said firmly. You were born to. Take control. Don't let it drown you. Rina clenched her teeth, tears streaming down her face. The mark pulsed again, and then something inside her snapped into place. The glow steadied, the pain sharpened, then relented, and Rina opened her eyes. The mark was no longer chaotic. It was whole. A roar shattered the sky. Rina's head snapped toward the gate. The sleeper stood at the fortress entrance. Chains trailed behind him, dragging across the stone. His body was more formed now. Tall, monstrous, carved of flesh and shadow. His eyes burned white. He stepped forward. No, Varen whispered. It shouldn't be able to cross the river. The wolf mask's voice trembled. They found another way. They must have broken the second seal. The sleeper lifted its hand. Shadows poured over the walls. The fortress began to crack. Varen knocked an arrow. Rina stepped in front of him. No, she said softly. Varen froze. Rina, I feel it now, she said, the mark glowing steady on her skin. I know what it wants. The sleeper spoke, its voice a deep rumble. Awaken us. Rina lifted her wrist. No. The sleeper paused. Chains rattled. You are the key. Rina took a shaking breath. I'm also the lock. The sleeper roared and charged. Varen shouted her name, but Rina slammed her wrist onto the altar. Light erupted. The entire fortress blazed with white fire. The chains on the sleeper writhed and snapped taut. The ground split. The sleeper was dragged backward, pulled through cracks in the air itself, back toward the prison beneath the earth. No, it roared. You cannot hold us forever. Rina screamed as the mark burned hotter than fire. Her vision went white. And then, silence. When Rina opened her eyes, she lay on the ground, Varen kneeling beside her. The wolf mask approached slowly, bandaged but standing. Did I do it? Rina whispered. Yes, Varen said, his eyes soft for the first time. You sealed the sleeper again, stronger than before. Rina exhaled, shaking. But it felt like something inside me closed, too. It did, Varen said. You gave a part of your power to reinforce the chains. It is the cost all guardians pay. Rina nodded slowly. Will they come back? One day, Varen said, but not in your lifetime. The wolf mask put a gentle hand on her shoulder. You did what your mother couldn't. You finished her fight. Rina's eyes filled with quiet tears. I wish she were here. She is, the wolf mask whispered, in everything you just did. Rina looked down at her wrist. The mark was faint now, soft, dormant. For the first time, she said softly, it doesn't hurt. It won't, Varen said, not unless the seals break again. And by then, the next guardian will rise. Rina stood. The wind moved through the fortress, carrying away the last traces of shadow. What do I do now? She asked. Varen smiled faintly. Whatever life you choose. The wolf mask nodded. You're free, Rina. Rina looked toward the far horizon. A new dawn was rising. Gentle, quiet, no shadows, no chains. For the first time in her life, she was not running. She was not hunted. She was simply Rina. And she walked forward into a world she had helped save, with the strength she never knew she carried.